Hey guys, so today's lesson is about diagramming subjects and verbs. Yesterday's lesson reminded you of what nouns and verbs were, and then talked about subjects and verbs, or as some people sometimes call the verb, the predicate. So today we're going to talk about diagramming those elements, because as we're talking about the building blocks of sentences, it's important to remember the relationship between different elements of the sentence. And as we go along, we'll be diagramming different parts of the sentence and adding those to our diagram so that we can begin to understand the relationship between all the different parts of the sentence. So you're already familiar with the concept of diagramming. We diagram some prepositional phrases. We're going to hold on to those prepositional phrases for a while. We're not going to diagram those with the rest of our sentences just yet. Today I just want you to focus on being able to diagram the subjects and the verbs. So just those two simple parts of the sentence, the core of the sentence. And I want you to get that down really well because that's going to be the framework for the entire rest of our diagramming lessons. You've got to know how to diagram the subject and the verb before you can build on it with the rest of the diagram. So we're just going to start with subjects and verbs, subjects and verbs, subjects and verbs, and then we'll build from there later. All right, so obviously the key to diagramming subjects and verbs is identifying the simple subject and the simple verb, and that is that one-word subject and one-word verb. If you read the handout that I scanned for you, you may remember that there is the complete subject and the complete predicate, right? And that's those two parts of the sentence, and those two parts would incorporate all the words of the sentence. But we're not worried about the complete subject and the complete predicate here. We're just looking for the simple one-word subject and the simple one-word verb. That's what we're looking for, and that's going to be the very basic form of a diagram. That's the foundation. So in a sentence, when I'm looking for the subject and verb, I usually find that it's helpful to locate the verb first. So find the verb first. One of your videos yesterday said it's one of the easiest elements of the sentence to identify, and that's true. So look for the verb first, because oftentimes it's an action word. It's either an action word or it's a form of to be, right, as the videos talked about yesterday. So you can pretty easily locate the verb. Then once you've found the verb, ask who or what before the verb. So if my verb is slept, who slept or what slept? And the answer to that question will point me to the subject. All right, so let's just do a little more practice identifying the simple subject and the simple verb with some sample sentences. Here's a very basic sentence, and it's a pretty easy one to identify. So my action word here is breathed. So that's going to be my verb. And then I can ask the question, who or what, before the verb breathed. So who breathed? There's an answer to that question. Elizabeth breathed. All right, so now I've identified my subject and my verb. All right, let's look at another example sentence that's a little bit more lengthy and a little bit more complicated. Oops, I'm covering this up with my video. After the concert, Amy and Ethan got pizza. All right, so you can't see the whole sentence because of my video, but the verb here is got, right? It doesn't really matter what the rest of the words in the sentence are doing. I just need to identify the verb. After the concert, Amy and Ethan got pizza. The action word is got. And I can ask who or what before the verb. Who got pizza or what got pizza? Well, there's an answer to the question who, although in this sentence, it's two people, Amy and Ethan. So that means they are both going to be my subject. So subject here, and verb here. As I said, right now we're not worried about the rest of the elements of the sentence. We're just wanting to key in on subjects and verbs, and I be able to identify those elements first because they are the foundation of the sentence and the foundation of a diagram. All right, so this is the basic framework for diagramming a subject and a verb. So it's very, very simple. you have a horizontal line, like so, and then you have a vertical line dividing that horizontal line in half, dividing the subject from the verb. Now that is because when you are diagramming, you're wanting to show the split between the complete subject and the complete predicate, right? So we have that vertical line showing that split between the subject part of the sentence and the predicate part of the sentence. So that's what that vertical line is for. All right, so that's if you've got one subject and one verb, and it's a very simple formula. Horizontal line with the vertical line in the middle, subject on one side and verb on the other. Now, some of the sentences that we talked about yesterday and some of the videos that you watched mentioned that you could have more than one subject for a single verb. So in this scenario, you've got two subjects for one verb, and this is how you would diagram that. It's just a little bit different. I like to call this the rocket ship design because this, if we were to draw a little something on the end, would look kind of like a rocket ship. All right, you get the idea. So when you have more than one subject for a single verb, you're going to create this rocket ship shape. And you are going to put the first subject on the top line and the second subject on the bottom line. And you're going to connect them with this dotted line here. And on the dotted line, you're going to put the conjunction that joins the two subjects, usually and. So if I said Amy and Ethan, right? So I've got Amy here, and then I've got the word and connecting them, and then I've got my other subject, Ethan. And then you'll notice over here, we're still going to have that vertical line and then the verb. So that's what it would look like if you were doing two subjects with one verb. We also mentioned the possibility of three subjects, and it looks very, very similar to two subjects. The only difference is that you have an extra line in the middle here on which you put your second subject, and then your third subject goes on the bottom line. It's important that you always list the subjects in the order that they're listed in the sentence, because that keeps the organization of the sentence the same. So let's look at some more practical examples with actual sentences rather than just diagrams with subject and verb. So here's a very, very simple sentence. This is the most simple form of a sentence that you can have. Just a subject and a verb. That's all you've got. And that's the base of a sentence. That's all you technically need to have a sentence. You can have a lot more, but all you need is one subject and one verb. So this is the most simple subject and verb sentence you can have. So my verb here, my action word, is sang. And I can pretty easily tell who sang. Ariel sang. All right, so let's see how that would look in the diagram. All right, very simple. Horizontal line with a vertical line in the middle. Before the vertical line, you've got the subject Ariel. And after the vertical line, you've got the verb sang. So, pretty simple, pretty easy. If you've just got one subject and one verb, it's very simple to diagram. Now, let's look at a slightly more complicated example. The diagram isn't any more complicated, but the sentence is a lot more complicated. There's a lot more going on. And I want to remind you, ignore the rest of the words. Just locate the subject and the verb, and that's all I'm asking you to diagram right now. So, we're looking for an action word in this sentence, and the action word, the really only action word in this sentence, is the verb brushed. All right, so that's our action word, and we can ask who or what brushed. That's an easy answer. Rapunzel brushed. All right, so the rest of these words we can simply ignore for right now. Later on, we'll figure out how to diagram those kinds of things, but for right now, we're going to ignore those words and just look at the subject and the verb. So let's see what that would look like. Pretty much like our last diagram, Ariel sang, Rapunzel brushed, same thing. Horizontal line with a vertical line in the middle. Before the vertical line, our subject Rapunzel, and after the vertical line, our verb brushed. Now let's try an example with 2 subjects and 1 verb. Okay, so here we've got 2 subjects and 1 verb in this example. Belle and the Beast danced around the elegant ballroom. So we're looking for our action word, and our action word is clearly danced. And then we're asking what or who danced. Belle and the Beast danced. So our simple subject and our simple verb are going to be Belle and Beast. We're not going to worry about the word the right now, right? And we're also not going to worry about around the elegant ballroom. That's a prepositional phrase and we could easily diagram it, but we're not worrying about it right now because we're just looking at subject and verb. All right, so let's look at what this diagram would look like. All right, so we've got the rocket shaped structure, and we've got our first subject, Belle, on the top line, and then our second subject, Beast, on the bottom line. And remember, we take that word and that's joining them, and we put it on the dotted line at the top of the rocket ship. And then we've got the verb danced right here. All right. Let's look at one more example with 3 subjects and 1 verb. Mowgli, Baloo, and Bagheera wandered through the jungle. All right, so we've got an action verb here with wandered. And then we've got who or what wandered, 3 people, well, 1 person and 2 animals, Mowgli, Baloo, and Bagheera. So let's take a look at what that would look like. All right, very similar to our last one, we've got the rocket shaped structure, and we've got Mowgli on the top line, Baloo on the second line, and Bagheera on the bottom line, and then we've got that conjunction that joins them in there on the dotted line, and then we've got the verb wandered after the vertical line. All right, so it's time for some practice. I'm going to give you some sentences below this video to diagram. You're going to use the software that we used before, the online program Let's Diagram, and you can save and download images there and upload them to me in this assignment, or you could do your diagrams on paper and take a picture and upload that picture to this assignment as well. All right, guys, if you have questions about diagramming subjects and verbs, certainly reach out to me and let me know, and I am glad to help you. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. All right, bye now.